Hey everyone, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. Well, The Verge has done it again. The Verge has been trolling Google not once, but twice, all about printers. And we're going to cover this story. It's really interesting for how Google is ranking content and very seemingly low effort content on the part of The Verge. And so we're going to share what all of that is here in our main story here in a second. But also, we've got a couple other things, a lawsuit going on with Google, new AI search features on a particular browser, and one other story that we're going to cover as well. And then we've both got a couple of side hustle projects that we're going to give updates on, so stick around for that. And then finally, we're going to bring home the entire episode with a couple of weird niche sites, both of which, well, I know mine's interesting, Jared. Honestly, I just know the name of your niche site. I really don't know anything else about it. So we'll go to it from there. So, Jared, how you doing today?
Doing well. Going to be interesting hour together. Obviously, we have our weird niches, but I feel like the news this week has a lot of weird things going for it too.
It does. So maybe that's just going to be the theme. It's a little bit offbeat of a podcast, right? Like The headline story isn't like a hard hitting headline story.
Well, I'll give you the hard hitting one. The May core update. I'm sorry. What is it? The March core update. I slept.
The March core update.
It's going to be here till May.
Seriously. So yes, that is the 10-second headline, is that the March core update is not finished rolling out yet. We keep saying, I think it's going to be here next week. I'm not going to even say that. I don't know when.
I'm done saying that.
The March core update is going to be done. You'll hear it here
May
first. Yeah, but it definitely could be into May. So
they're going to now start telling us, they're going to, instead of saying we are now releasing a broad core update, they're going to start having to announce when they're not in the middle of an update now. It's like, hey, newsflash, today we're not updating the algorithm, and we'll let you know when we start back up again. I think we're going to have to switch the tide now.
For real, it's going to be like 364 days out of the 365 days are updates going on. So it is still the March core update, the non-news news for you. But the actual news here, as I said, The Verge is trolling Google again. Now, I think we covered this story last year, Jared, that The Verge wrote an article about the best printers in 2023. And I'll share what was in that article before for people that don't remember, but it ranked well in Google. It's very low effort content. But now they have written a new article about the best printer to buy. And, I think it's best if I just, do a live Google search. So if I do best printer, in 2024, The Verge ranks number one. In fact, I think if I even do just best printer, The Verge is number one in Google for this, right? So this is...
if you're wondering, because Spencer already went to that site, if you do it incognito mode, you're going to get the same thing.
Yeah, I tested before the podcast, exactly. It doesn't matter where you search for. The Verge article ranks number one for best printer, a very competitive keyword term. And so you think that this would be like this very high effort, we tested hands-on all of these printers. But no, it's basically a mocking piece written by Nilay Patel, the editor-in-chief of The Verge, mocking Google for how they rank articles. Basically, you just read the headline. I mean, best printer 2024, it's a bunch of keyword stuff here. Best printer for home use, office use, printing labels, printer for school, homework, printer. You are printer. We are all printers. And then I love the subheadline. After a full year of not thinking about printers, the best printer is still whatever random brother laser printer that's on sale. Now, we're not going to read this whole article, but people really should just read the article. It is very mocking. I mean, basically it says, hey, it's been a year since I told you just go buy a brother laser printer. That article has fallen down on the Google search results because I haven't spent any time loading it up with fake updates. So every so often it gains the attention of the Google search robot. And so I've published this article. It's written very tongue-in-cheek, very mocking of Google, mentioning all these things that people do on Google to make their articles rank better. And all it says is, hey, go buy this laser printer. And here's some Google Gemini stuff that was spit out about this, right? So they didn't spend any time researching. They didn't do any testing. They didn't even write, 75% of the article is just what Google Gemini spit out. And it's just mocking Google. And what happens? It ranks number one in Google. So, hey everyone, Spencer here, founder of Niche Pursuits. Are you adding a new internal link pointing to each article you publish? You should be. Ever find it time-consuming and a bit overwhelming? Remembering what content you publish and deciding which anchor text to use can be a real headache. What if there was a better way? Well, that's exactly why I created Link Whisper. Simply click Add Inbound Internal Links, and Link Whisper will scan your site in seconds and suggest the most relevant links with appropriate anchor text for your new article. Now simply check the box next to the internal links you want to add, and Link Whisper will add these links for you. No need to go into each article, edit, and add the link. It's already done. No more manual internal link building or guesswork. Just efficient, accurate linking that saves you time and improves your SEO. Transform your content strategy with Link Whisper. Start linking smarter, not harder. Use the coupon code PODCAST for $15 off. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use coupon code PODCAST to get $15 off. Jared, like I tend to do, what are your thoughts on this?
I sent you this article and you said, "Oh, we already covered that article." And I was like,
I did.
"Oh no, they did it again, Spencer." And you're like, "Oh, I didn't know that."
I didn't realize it was a 2024 variation
Yeah,
of the same
they
article.
did it again, even more mockingly. We'll talk about Google's actual response to this in a second.
Yes.
But that coming later, we'll talk about that in a second. It's fascinating that it's ranking number one. And is it ranking number one because it stuffs keywords, because it's from a high authoritative domain, or because the mocking nature of it is actually more interesting than a normal article on best printers, and therefore it's getting better user metrics, allowing it to rank number one, or a combination of all of them? It's interesting, but it's basically calling out the fact in so many ways, all the things they mentioned, like the article last year fell off a cliff because we didn't keep it updated and we didn't put more stuff in there. And it's funny. It's funny. It's one of those things where if you can't laugh, maybe cry a little bit, because it's all so true. And so I think that there's a bit of pain as you read this, even when you find it a bit funny.
Exactly. The pain felt by all the SEOs, niche website creators out there that spend a ton of time, many of them actually, visiting the location they're reviewing, or, hands-on with the product that they're reviewing, writing their own original recipes, doing all these things, spending hours on one piece of content, and then it shows up nowhere in Google. Where The Verge, I have to think, a lot of the reason they rank is because of their authority, right? They write it in a mocking way, even say they don't test anything, it's AI generated, and Google ranks them number one. So,
and none of us could even get an article like this to the place where the user metrics could come into play, because we don't have a domain authority of 89 or whatever the Verge is, whatever they are. We don't have that authority. So the table stakes they live by and can rely on their user engagement. Again, I'm being very tongue in cheek by even suggesting that, but suppose this article is doing well because it catches the eye of the reader more so than other articles. But that's table stakes that we can't even enter in because we don't have the high domain authority. So we can never even get into the SERPs for this query. So we have this circle jerk relationship again with quality content and what can and can't get ranked.
Yeah, exactly. If all of us with a new website or a low authority website wrote the exact same article before before the Verge wrote about the brother printer, our new website would never show up in Google. Like, let's just be honest. It definitely is because of their authority, their current traffic, that sort of thing. Just another interesting tidbit that I'll point out is all these links that you'll see, like every word is linked. And these are all linked to different reviews for the best printer on different websites. The Forbes, CNET, US News, Tech Gear Lab, people.com. Anyways, all of these link to the best printer review on all their competitors. Like it's kind of funny. Again, in a very mocking way, saying, "Hey, you guys can't beat us. We're going to just link to you anyways, and we're going to rank number one in Google for this term you're trying to rank for." So that's the article. I have to chuckle. It's sad. It's funny. It's the current state of SEO. This is where we're at. Google gets mocked, but they still rank The Verge number one for a highly competitive and highly valuable keyword. And then on the other hand, what do sort of the search liaisons, the people that work for Google, say when they see this pointed out, sort of this hypocrisy within the SERPs? Well, there is a quote. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, no, it's not long.
Quote.
Google's response.
Yeah.
John Mueller was asked specifically, how articles like this rank so well on Google. All that he says here is, quote, "People seem to really enjoy it." I don't like that response.
Well, it's I mean, it's a walking contradiction. And
Yes.
obviously we know this. Like, if you're listening to this podcast for longer than 10 minutes, you know that we spend time each week uncovering the walking contradiction that things are. And, if the helpful content update was all about destroying sites that don't create helpful content, and this article is funny, but the opposite of helpful. It's not an op-ed. It's ranking for a query where the search intent is by someone going to Google, trusting what Google ranks to give them the option to go buy a printer, and it's misaligned with search intent. Then how is this enjoyable for people? It's enjoyable because it's mocking it, but it's absolutely not matching search intent. And other sites have gotten destroyed for doing far less for this.
Yeah. And the quote by John Mueller, kind of has a couple of sides to it, right? Nuances to it. One of which you alluded to, right? Is he being sarcastic? I think
might be.
probably a little bit. Certainly,
probably a little bit tongue in cheek. Fair enough. And I was going to circle back to the other side of this, so I'll come back to that, but I'll let you comment. But totally agree. He's probably being somewhat sarcastic.
He's probably being somewhat sarcastic, but on the other hand, he doesn't appear to really care, right? It's a very flippant comment of like he's blind or deaf to the fact that people's livelihoods are being crushed, with all these Google updates.
It's not funny.
It's not funny, right?
It's not
can
funny.
Kind of make probably to him, he thinks a humorous, sarcastic, witty comment. Hey, people seem to enjoy this, helpful content.
It's either not accurate or it's not funny.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Maybe he's somehow alluding to, hey, people are spending a lot of time on this page, right? The user metrics are great. And so maybe that's some of the reason that it's ranking well. Maybe there's some of that in there. But just from what I've seen with John Mueller versus Danny Sullivan, Danny appears typically to take a more sympathetic or empathetic approach with more nuance, thought, and depth. I don't know what John Mueller's official role is. He's not the search liaison. And so a lot of his comments tend to be a little bit more harsh,
engineerish,
if you will. Engineerish, cold, right? Like this one is. So,
I mean, we all get the idea when we can take a step back from maybe a niche site community and say, like, okay, I get why sites like, we got to get them in this podcast, Spencer, sites like Forbes are trusted, right? And like, we can see what they've done to be trusted. And even when we can find isolated articles that are not good, we can understand large domains, high DA, high DR, trusted sites, and Google needing to look to trusted sites to publish content. We can understand how user metrics play a role in like content that people click on, stay on, interact with, engage, share. Like, I think we can all get our minds around that. It just doesn't add up against a lot of what we're hearing about the helpful content update, which is just make content that delights. And if your site went down in helpful content, it's because you don't make that, and it doesn't add up. I think that's really what we're all getting at. It doesn't add up. And so an article like this, according to the helpful content update, boy, I can't get my words right today, it shouldn't rank, but it does, and it's because of other things. And so it's just very confusing. And then, like you said, whether sarcastic or not, tough to get your mind around. Google's representative kind of, sort of making fun of the situation. Yeah.
Yep. And,
You can't laugh,
Nilay,
cry, right?
exactly. The Verge's editor-in-chief, Nilay Patel, he obviously is very well aware of the entire Google ecosystem, the SEO world. Like, he is playing into this narrative and mocking it, right? And I wanted to read his quote that he gave a year ago, when he published his original printer article. He basically said, the web is about to be overrun with AI-generated content explicitly designed to game the algorithms. Me doing this is the least of Google's problems. At least I'm being honest. So he's acknowledging, hey, Google's got a problem with AI content. How are you going to deal with this, right? I'm doing it in the open, in the article itself, and you're still ranking me number one, right? Him saying, hey, I know this is a crappy article. I know it's written by AI content. I share that with you, but you're still going to rank it number one. That's your problem. Figure it out. And they still have not figured that out.
Well, full circle to John Mueller's point. I bet people do like this article because it's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny. It's being shared, all over the place.
Yep. I bet it's getting great user metrics.
Is this the review article of the future, right? This is what we all do, is we just mock Google, write very tongue-in-cheek type content, and then don't even give a real review of a, just say, hey, go buy this one.
I mean, I'm not in the printer space, I'll admit, but I have to say I haven't heard any, groundbreaking advancements in the printer space in the last year. So, maybe
our ears haven't been to the ground, though. Who knows?
Fair enough. We have not studied every printer like the Verge clearly has.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that's a kind of a fun story and a sad story all at the same time because of the state of affairs and where we're at. But let's move on to, I guess, a more serious headline here, which oddly enough, this was covered by all news sources, but The Verge also covered this news story. So let's
we pick
share
The Verge for this one. That's what's so funny.
Let's pick the Verge version of this story. Why not? They do such a good job with their journalism. Google threatens to cut off news after California proposes paying media outlets. Okay. And so Google is basically testing with a small subset of news publishers, removing their links from Google News, basically no longer featuring these publishers in Google News, because California has threatened to bring a suit, or there is a pending sort of act within the legislature to force Google to pay news publishers for their content to be included within Google News. Right? They basically, these journalists want to be paid. Hey, we're doing this original work. Google is just scraping this content, sharing it within Google News. We're not getting any compensation. So, hey, let's take it to court. Let's let them figure it out and see who's right here. So Google is, again, this is just a test, a small subset of news publishers. Obviously, Google is trying to figure out, hey, if we just remove the news links from these California news publishers, is that really going to make us take a hit with the amount of traffic or the amount of news stories or whatever it may be, the metrics that they're looking at, with the potential to roll this out further at some point in the future if their small test goes well, right? I think they're just trying to figure out, hey, are we going to, it's bottom line either way. Are we going to lose more money by removing these news publishers or by paying them just to have their news included? Which way are we going to make more money? And so they're kind of testing that. That's kind of the big story. But Jared, I think as you mentioned right before we hit record, we actually covered a very similar story previously for other countries, right?
Very similar to what Canada did last year, from what I can remember from our news article. Feels very similar as I read it. Sounds like California's trying the same thing as Canada. I didn't have time before we recorded. We hit record here to see what's going on in Canada. I did do a little bit of research. This happened in Spain. Google withdrew from Spain in 2014. the article talks about following a similar law, but then they figured it out, I guess, and they came back in 2022. I don't know. Is that because Google was finding themselves on the losing end, and so they found a way to get back in? Or was it because Spain was like, well, this isn't working to how we want it. Let's let you back in. That would be interesting to see. We'd have a little bit of precedent to some degree there. But, I think this is interesting on a number of levels. I mean, if you're a news publisher, I wonder where you're at right now. I wonder if you're like cheering because you're like, hey, California, yeah, go to bat for us. And then you're like, whoa, hold on, you went too far. Now hold on, we actually kind of needed that traffic. We're not going to make it if we don't. So I wonder where you're at as a news publisher in California right now and where you're going to land on this, especially as it plays itself out.
Right. I mean, like SEO, I imagine the traffic coming from Google News could be a very significant, maybe a majority of the traffic coming to some of these news publishers. And so if they're in that test sample, that small sample size, they could take a significant cut over the next month, 2 months, however long this test is that Google's currently running. And so, yeah, the article does also mention that other countries, specifically Australia, did have success. Google caved and cut a deal with several Australian publishers. And then Australia's success led other countries like the US, UK, Canada, and New Zealand to pursue similar legislation. I don't know which of those countries, if any, also had success in cutting a deal with Google, or if they're all still pending. I don't know, but it seems to be a growing trend that news publishers are starting to either band together or get the idea that, hey, we can just ask Google for money to pay us if they're going to be using all this content.
And how much of this is related to now AI, right? This was obviously an issue that was getting surfaced in other countries prior to AI, but now that Google is scraping publishers for their content, there's a further problem with their business model. And, you start to wonder where the world's news comes from if they can't make it profitable.
Boy, that is a really good point, Jared, because you think about news, these are new topics that haven't been talked about before.
They have to get surfaced. You can't rely on AI to get a news topic out there.
Exactly, right? There's all this evergreen content that AI models have been trained on, and they can spit out answers for all sorts of things. But as soon as some event takes place that has never happened before, the AI has never heard of this, right? They have to get it from a news publisher. So I have to imagine you are 100% correct that AI just exacerbates this problem, this issue, that news publishers have this valuable currency of information that they're writing about that AI models, it didn't exist, right, when they were trained. So an interesting development, right? How does it apply directly to sort of the smaller niche publisher? Maybe not a lot if all you're doing is writing evergreen content, but some of these lawsuits could carry forward into other areas of web publishing. And then I do know that we do have a number of listeners that are small news publishers, whether that's a local, news publish, newsletter or something else. So hopefully, this story is one that people can watch and pay attention to, and we'll continue to cover as there's new information.
If you need me to do any search queries for you, Spencer, to test it, I'm in California, so maybe I'm part of the limited bucket that they are researching. Maybe not. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to research that exactly, but that is good to know. If anybody wants to give Jared, some test searches,
just what I need. More Twitter DMs about stuff like that.
There you go. Okay, we've got a couple more stories here. So Google just announced a new ad product. Okay, so Google AdSense. Google AdSense launches new ad intents format for auto ads, right? So these are ads that can appear on your website within the content, not like separate from the content, but actual internal links and anchor text within your content. So, I'm on the screen here. I'm just hovering over this word, this anchor text that is ad intent. If you were to hover over that, I'll scroll down and show you a screenshot. It kind of shows what these ad intents, like you'll actually get a pop-up of like Google search results or shopping results.
Shopping results, I think, probably the key word there.
Yeah, right. That it's just kind of crazy, right? You hover over this link or click this link, you then get shopping results that can result in clicks on advertisers' products. Is the idea?
And there's two types. There's one, as you described. There's also a bottom, almost like a sticky banner that comes up as you hover over the content or something like that.
Yes. Yep. And then I wanted to say there was something, there's also an option to use ad intent anchors, which place anchors at the bottom
There it
of
is.
your
Okay, that's
page.
it. And that's optional.
Yeah. And I did want to point out that both of the, all of this, this type of ad, this format of ad are optional within Google AdSense. So this isn't something, if you have Google AdSense on your website, automatically it's going to turn on, and all of a sudden you're going to have these internal links, these internal anchor texts that are now linking out to other products that maybe you didn't want to link to. It's optional. It is optional. The Google Ads spokesperson, there's a quote from her, but basically just saying, hey, this is optional. Here it is. This new format is opt-in and entirely optional for publishers. Publishers can opt into ad intent links, which converts existing text on their page into links. So there you go. You don't have to do it, but it is a very interesting ad format, of course. When I think about the content on my page and the opportunity to use internal links, to use anchor text, and in particular, perhaps keyword optimized anchor text, I think you're going to be better off linking to your other articles on your page. There's just so much that can happen with the SEO on your site when you're able to link with an internal link from one page to another. And so kind of turning over that ability to control your own SEO power to an ad unit, like, I'm not sure I would want to do that. That's probably something I would keep off on my own website, at least at first glance when I think about this.
It almost feels like an invasion of the last, bastion that we have, right? Like our WordPress site, our domain, and we've chipped away at that by allowing ad units, but we have control over where the ad units go, and we allow the density, and we have control over that. We control that page, and this feels like the last stand where you just turn it all over, and you let the larger entities, as they were, kind of just run with what you have. I could throw a couple scenarios at you where maybe it could turn the tables. Maybe if you're a site that does not get the majority of its traffic from SEO, maybe if you're a beginner that doesn't understand all the stuff I just talked about, doesn't want to go through the pains of trying to set up ad units. But I don't know. Maybe if the RPMs on this, what if it was $250 RPMs?
All right, money talks.
Maybe there's some scenarios, but all of these seem a little bit more on the edge cases, right? And I tend to completely agree with what you said.
Yeah. I suppose you're right. If it's a particular landing page or page that's getting a bunch of traffic from not Google, right? Maybe it could make sense. But if you're trying to rank this particular article, keyword optimize it, do all of these things with SEO, just giving up that real estate on your page would be a tough pill to swallow. So, all right, we've got one final story here, and it's kind of a short one, but I thought it was worth mentioning here. Brave Search unveils AI answer engine. So Brave's new answer with AI features uses large language models to generate answers to queries directly in the search results, right? It almost feels like it's ho-hum news at this point, right? We've kind of had the search generative experience. We've had Bing, Copilot, OpenAI, probably half a dozen other sort of search related features and AI related features that have been happening for months. That, the fact that Brave now kind of unveils this AI answer engine, like I guess it's cool, but it's not like groundbreaking, right? A lot of other people have already done this in terms of search engines. But, they give an example here that, of what it might look like, what is after Gen Z, and it gives the AI generated answer right here at the top. That kind of gives, a nice definition, an AI generated result. But, it's interesting because Brave search size, because, it is of significant size. Brave search has an index of 20 billion web pages, has more than 1 billion location-based schemas, and serves 27 million queries per day and 10 billion queries per year, right? So it's got a slice of the pie. And so when you're impacting 27 million search queries per day, I guess that's worth mentioning here on the podcast.
Looks like SGE.
It does.
I mean, very much like SGE. I was telling you before we started recording, I don't know, maybe the sources are slightly larger, slightly more obvious. It looks like SGE.
It does. Yeah, it's it looks very similar, right? You got a search bar, you've got a big answer there in text.
Which, hey, if you don't have first mover advantage, it's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, no, exactly, right? Don't reinvent the wheel. Just kind of make it look similar, and if it works, it works. So there you have it. I don't know if there's a lot of people using Brave or really care about Brave, but worth mentioning.
We have learned, Spencer, that you can't record the podcast in Brave. Our software does not allow for that, and that took me about a half an hour with one poor guest.
That's right.
Interview has now gone live, and we figured it out, thankfully. But that was a painful 30 minutes. That's about the only thing I can think of that where Braves come up in my world in the last 6 months.
Yeah. I'm not a user, of their browser, but hey, I obviously a lot of people are.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
A lot of people are. So
this is one of those things where it doesn't really matter much if you don't use Brave, and if you use Brave, it matters a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we'll just leave it at that. Let you know that, hey, it's available now, and people can certainly check that out if they want.
Before we jump into the podcast, I wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
This campaign got us big links in websites such as Lifehacker, Wales Online, Daily Record, and about 20 other news websites. Let me show you how we've done it. We knew that people will be flying a lot this summer, and we knew that journalists will be writing about this topic a lot. So, on behalf of our client, we put together a nice guide about how to fall asleep on the plane. Then we use Muckrack to find journalists who write about travel. Then we put our advice in a nice email and send the tips to the journalists. Within just a few days, the links started landing, securing our client natural placements in really big websites, just like this, and this. This is a great example about how you can leverage seasonal trends to earn links to a website. Anticipate what journalists want to write about at all times and give them the stories that they need. They will reward you with some great, juicy links. I hope this is helpful.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now.
Okay, let's move on to our shiny object shenanigans. I've got a somewhat interesting story that I wanted to share. As listeners of the podcast will know, I have been involved in the Amazon Influencer Program now for a year and a few months at this point. It's gone well. I've shared a lot of my results. I've got over 1,000 videos published on the Amazon platform. And about 7 months ago, I decided, you know what? I've got all of these assets, these videos. Why am I not publishing them on YouTube? Just take them over, put them on YouTube. Maybe I can get some long tail search queries on YouTube, start getting some traffic, to those videos and maybe make a little extra money. So I started doing that 7 months ago. I got exactly, because I'm looking over here, 76 videos uploaded. I don't remember how long we were working on it. Not very long, a couple of weeks, maybe, something like that. Just started the channel, uploaded 76 videos over a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden it disappeared. The channel just disappeared. I do not remember getting an email. It's possible I missed an email from YouTube saying, hey, your channel's banned or whatever. We just tried to log in. It was not there. Like, there was no message. Like, we just couldn't click on the channel. It was gone. I was like, oh my goodness. What? Like, what happened? I don't know. We didn't do anything wrong.
Who clicked the button wrong? Who clicked the wrong button?
Who clicked the delete button? So I was, it was a pretty low priority sort of thing. And so I'll admit it was a couple of months before I really even kind of dug into it. But finally I did. And I found that there's a way to appeal a deleted channel. And luckily, like, I had to dig and find like what the channel was even like called, right? Because it just didn't exist. And so I was able to submit an appeal form on YouTube, and people will have to Google that and figure out what that appeal form was, because I don't remember where it was. And it went at least 2 to 3 months before I heard anything at all. But I am happy to say that I got an email from YouTube just yesterday, and they said, your channel's back. It's basically all they said. I am going to find this because I actually have a screenshot of the exact email that I got. So let me share my screen, because it's a little bit funny in my opinion. I blurred out the name of the channel is what that is, so people can't find my channel. But basically say, hey, we're pleased to let you know that we reviewed your YouTube account, and after taking another look, we can confirm that it is not in violation of our terms and services. We've lifted the suspension. It's fully operational and active. Thanks for your patience. Yada, yada, yada. We do our best to make sure everybody, doesn't violate community guidelines. And then I just love this sentence. And sometimes we make mistakes trying to get it right. We hope you understand, and we're sorry for any inconvenience or frustration this caused. We make mistakes. Like that's their answer. I didn't do anything wrong. They didn't find anything wrong. I didn't change anything. I didn't do anything. They just turned my channel back on. So I'm happy to report that the channel is back. I'm going to start re-uploading videos. At the time, it wasn't like it was getting a ton of traction, but it started getting some views. And I was just going to see if I could look at because it was literally like 7 months ago, right? Like September-ish. Yeah. And it had gotten to a peak of 250 views a day, right? At that point.
How many views per day?
250 was its highest in a single day.
Well, you only had it live for a couple weeks, right?
Exactly. It looks like the very first view came on September 5th, and the last view came on September 20th. Right? So yeah, almost exactly 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
man. It existed. Like, that was it. And so we'll see what happens. But I'm going to start uploading my videos again. I've got like 1,000 videos. I'm going to upload them. That's a good sign. If after 76 videos is getting a couple hundred views in a day, like, hey.
You got me thinking maybe I should do that. I got 1,100 videos.
Yeah. So this is kind of like one minuscule step of my sort of shiny object adventure here. No like big moneymaker or anything, but hey, my YouTube channel is back on. I'm gonna give it a whirl again, and in a few weeks or a month, I'll provide another update and let people know if my YouTube channel is still around and active and getting views at that point.
We just spent some time earlier in the podcast talking about the tongue-in-cheek response from a Google employee to what's happening in the SERPs. And here we have a different Google product. And the response was full of sometimes we make mistakes. We're sorry for any inconvenience or frustration this caused.
Exactly.
Boy, it's such a
Yeah,
different tone.
a little bit different tone, a little more professional, right? But yeah, I only went like 7 months, 6 months without any
It took a little
views.
while.
No compensation for it, but there you go.
It is. I mean, on the broader scale, I have long thought about, man, should I be taking all these Amazon influencer videos and posting them to a YouTube channel? I'll admit I've like tried to kind of poke around and see other people that are doing that and try to like measure their results to see if it's worthwhile. And I haven't found a use case yet for it being worthwhile. But I also haven't really bothered looking into it, and I don't really know what worthwhile would be. I mean, you've already created the content, so it's like it's just a little bit of extra effort. So how much ROI do you really need for it to be worthwhile, you know?
Exactly. Not much. And I mean, really all that I'm doing is trying to title it with, I mean, mostly the title from Amazon is pretty good. Just mentioning the long tail product. And then the description is like 1 or 2 sentences. Hey, if you want to buy this product, here's my affiliate link.
Here's my,
It is basically all it is. So,
well, I mean, 250 impressions after 2 weeks with 70 something videos. I mean, I just started to do the math on 1,000 videos over 6 months, and that has my head turning a little bit. I'll be honest.
yeah, I mean, who knows? Yeah, the data is, it just got turned on yesterday, so I don't really have any fresh data to provide, but I will provide more updates going forward for sure. So,
well, looking forward to it. I hope to hear that this becomes another revenue channel for you from the influencer program.
Yeah, it'd be
and
cool.
For people who are wondering, we've talked about before, but it is totally within terms of service to take the videos and publish them to a YouTube account or use them elsewhere.
Yep. It's our videos. Either we created them or paid freelancers to create them. So we have every right to be publishing them wherever we want.
Well, I said last week on the podcast I would be announcing a new side hustle, a new shiny object, as it were. So here we are. I guess I have to talk about it, don't I?
Yep, you do.
My newest project for 2024 is off the ground, and we are going to be building an email newsletter. Slow clap on that one. Backstory: Caitlin, my business partner, myself, previous companies have built large email lists with pretty intricate funneling, pretty robust email marketing platforms that we've worked with. So there's an inherent amount of experience there. We do this with clients, whether it's for a monthly service package that's more marketing intense, or even just a one-off project to help businesses with their email marketing. And so as I looked around at maybe a good place to put time and energy, especially, post HCU, and you got to start wondering about diversifying your traffic sources and all that. So it just seemed like the natural fit. It really, really seemed like the natural fit. So, the basis of the email newsletter will be growth by Facebook ads. So we'll have a budget that we'll put towards Facebook ads, trying to get subscribers to the newsletter as cheap as possible. We'll test doing that through all in Facebook. So, I think what's considered basically a lead ad. We'll also try Facebook ads that send people to the website. So the website's live. It's just one page.
Just a landing page.
It's got a graphic, got a logo, got the form embed, got the email list set up. Even was working this morning on the first piece of content. That'll be the lead gen piece. We're going to try several different lead gen pieces. And hopefully over the coming weeks, we'll start to kind of get some numbers back, some numbers back in terms of what a cost per lead will look like with these different advertising models and with different opt-in offers and with different, calls to action, different lead generation pieces, and start to hone in on which one's going to make the most sense. And then at that point, try to grow it.
Yeah, that's super fascinating. Now, to clarify, it sounds like this is a completely different side hustle and business than Weekend Growth.
100%.
Or 201 Creative. Like, it is unattached. It's its own niche, something completely different.
A lot of people have asked me as I've kind of been noodling about this. Like, are you doing it with one of your websites that you own? This project, no.
Okay.
But it would make all the sense in the world to do this with a website that you already own, because you already have the content, you have the website, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted for this project to pick a niche that I thought was going to work really, really well, specifically around an email newsletter.
Yeah.
So I picked, and I looked at, we have some sites that we've built at 201 Creative that are in the kind of the niche site, the content site space. And while some of them would work, I think, well, I thought this idea would work really well for email specifically. So if this goes well, I could see us then taking that model and then translating it to some of our websites, which we collect emails on those, but it's not a strategy. It's like a secondary thing. Whereas what I'm talking about now is this is the primary traffic generator.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, the website is a landing page, and
that's it right now.
It's almost the website is the afterthought, right? It's like
exactly.
The website only exists so people can get on the email newsletter.
Exactly.
Very fascinating. So again, that is big news. I know you led up to it that, hey, this is going to be big news, but for people to appreciate, right? Like you've got your main thing with 201 Creative, you've got your side hustle with Weekend Growth, but now this
and Amazon Influencer as well.
Yes, that is true. Amazon Influencer.
But, this podcast audience, Spencer, they're a hungry audience. They don't like it when we don't have these new projects. That's yesterday's news for me. Last year I had to come up with something new.
You do. It's like you lose your seat, both of us as hosting this podcast, if we can't continue doing new shiny objects to keep people happy.
Exactly. I didn't think last year when we started this, how year over year it was going to stack on top of itself and the need was going to continue to grow. It's like you got to feed the beast every year and it just keeps getting worse and worse.
That's right. Eventually, maybe you have a big exit, right? You build this newsletter up, you have a big exit, and it's like, that's a good story too. Then you have time to do another side hustle.
Time to do another one. Exactly. Well, I hope at some point to talk about this one, maybe publicly. We'll see.
Cool.
Not yet. We could have a whole podcast on why, but not yet. But we'll see.
Okay. Cool. I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
I will be very interested to follow along.
Yeah.
With that as well.
I will say that while not building in public, having to come on here and talk about it, whether it's weekly or every other week or whatever it ends up being, is motivating, so there is something to that. And there is something to that. I have to admit, I was kind of cranking out a couple of those last minute things that I just said I completed yesterday and today, because I'm like, I got to go on the podcast and talk about this. I want to be able to say I did this and say I did that. So there is a motivation factor there that is nice.
Built-in motivation right here. All right, very good. We've just got, maybe 10 minutes here to chat about a couple of weird niche sites. And this one, I was a little bit hesitant to share, but every time I look at it, I laugh. And so I had to share. This is one that was found by a reader. And I don't know how else to lead into it other than to just share it.
I just booted up the homepage.
Yeah, petsOrfood.com. Now, I really hope that PETA does not, listen to this podcast.
Boy.
But it's supposed to be a humorous website, but, right on the homepage, fresh clubbed baby seal you can purchase. Order now while supplies last. Pets or Food is proud to announce that we have renewed our exclusive arrangement with Russia's premier Führer to provide freshly clubbed and frozen baby seal meat to American dinner tables. So that gives you an idea of what this niche site is all about. You can add it to your cart. You've got reviews and comments on the baby seal. You've got reptiles, mammals, exotics, birds, all sorts of things. Is this a pet or is it food? I guess is the question that this website is posing. You can get an you can get an American bald eagle.
Oh my gosh.
You can get a spotted wood owl. And again, I apologize. I love animals. We just got a new puppy ourselves. So I am an animal lover, but this it made me laugh. It made me laugh. Obviously, you can't really buy a bald eagle on this website for anybody that did not get that. But they also have a related. They must have been doing so well with their petsorfood.com site that they have a related site called ZooBQ. Zoo and barbecue put together. ZooBQ. You can. I mean, it's its own domain. ZooBQ.com is gourmet fundraiser starring the zoo's very own exhibits as the culinary fair. Right. Jared, I don't know if I should even ask your opinion on this site or not.
To be fair, I'm laughing because I'm 100% sure this is tongue in cheek.
Oh yes.
So, just for clarity, because it needs to be said, because I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I'll read a couple lines on the About page. Pets or Food is a leading supplier of animal products to the nation's prison systems and was recognized in 1999 by Governor George W. Bush of Texas for helping to lower overall costs for the Texas prison system by almost 15%.
Lower the cost.
Strongly implying that that's what they serve people for food in the
prison system.
Yeah. That's the homepage or the About page, by the way, has 82 comments dating back to 2008.
Wow.
So talk about sending the signals Google wants to see.
Yeah, it's a lot of great signals. I mean, they've got all kinds of email addresses, press inquiries, human resources, testimonials, animal donations. 7 or 8 email addresses you can contact. Sounds like a really large team working on this website.
Hit it, Spencer, on the About page. In addition to running Pets or Food, Sydney is the brains behind internet success story ClickMonkeys, an offshore click farm that helps struggling e-retailers and e-businesses generate revenue by inflating page views and clicking on ad banners.
Oh, this is great. Who is this Sydney guy?
Is this the same guy behind The Verge?
Yeah, exactly. It says in 1988, Sydney and a group of like-minded entrepreneurs founded Pets or Food. Wow.
That's before the internet.
Before the internet, right? Anyways, we only got a couple of minutes, so we won't spend too much time diving into it other than to say it does get some traffic, from Google, but it's not much. It's 800 organic visitors a month. SimilarWeb shows it's getting, what happened here? There we go. About 10,000. Oh, well, this last month, 26,000 visitors for the month, and with a lot of that coming from direct or social traffic. So it is getting some traffic. I don't see anywhere where it can make money unless people really are trying to buy the baby seals and sending money. Other than that, I'm not seeing how it's making any money from its website.
I don't see any ads.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make much at, 10 or 26,000 visitors a month.
Yeah. So I think it was a joke that somebody started in 1988 and it continues to live on here.
They do have merch.
There you go. They do have merch. I did see that. So you can buy your Pets or Food merch. They've got, they've got shirts, hoodies, dog shirts, aprons for your barbecue, and all sorts of things that you can buy here. So
imagine putting your dog in one of those.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we'll leave it at that. And
you say yours doesn't get much search traffic. Mine gets even less.
Oh, okay.
So my weird niche is linerusher.com. And
okay.
So I think this is a legit site. It's so far-fetched that I have a hard time buying it, but I'm almost in the same vein. I was kind of going to this thing and like, is this a fake site? Like, is this kind of a mocking? I don't think so. I really actually think this is a real thing. They can't be making much money, but maybe they're onto something, and I'm just missing it. So you can hire someone to wait in line for you, and this is a business that will wait in line for you. Now, I must not get out very much, because I can't think of too many scenarios in my life where I have to wait in a very long line anyways. But there's scenarios, whether it's at the DMV, there's a long line,
Yeah.
concerts, theme parks, apparently. So maybe you could bring them to Disneyland with you and just say, go wait in that line and I'll be back in 45 minutes.
Text me when it's
Text me when you're close. Movie premieres, Apple, when you want to buy a new iPhone. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then restaurants, which they have a whole, we'll get into the restaurants thing here.
Yeah.
And so apparently these are professional, and I do use the word that they use, professional line sitter or line rusher services. Now, I was trying to figure out, like, is this like a national thing? You know, I was kind of poking around. It looks like this is only for the Los Angeles area. They don't make that very clear, but as I kind of noodled around a bit on the site, it looks like it's only for the Los Angeles area.
Okay.
Now, they have a newsletter, and boy, don't be bothered by the pop-up on every single page of the site. It will just pop up every time you move around.
Yeah.
They have a chat feature in the bottom right. I was tempted to chat them before the podcast, but I didn't want to waste their time. And I think the one thing that looks like the most developed there, Spencer, is that food reservation link. So this is a link that you can request us to help you book the most popular eatery in town. And then you don't have to wait 3+ hours to grab your favorite food. We'll wait in line for you. And finally, we saw some pricing. So the restaurant booking, and I assume also waiting in line for that restaurant, is $100.
Wow.
And then food pickup, where they'll go pick up your food at restaurants. I presume this is when you have to wait in line as well, because otherwise, why not just get like Uber Eats, is $36. And there are coupon codes, by the way. I kept trying to find reasons why this wasn't a fake, but you know, their FAQs are pretty stringent and whatnot. So apparently this is a thing. Now, it's so funny, putting aside all the funniness of it, like in a gig economy, if people are willing to pay for this, and I mean, there's so many gig jobs you can have, like, why not go sit in line? You could listen to the Niche Pursuits podcast while you get paid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've got an application page here if you want to earn money on your own time as
I saw that. $18 an
line
hour
rusher.
starting.
Wow. So
it goes up to, I think, $40 an hour, it said.
Job type freelancer. Yeah.
You do have to get a background check, apparently.
That makes sense. Background check and some quick training.
Here's your training. Find the line and get in it.
Make sure you get to the front at some point.
Okay, that's the quick training.
Wait. Yeah. This is a weird niche site. I think you nailed it. You found us a weird niche site, linerushers.com or linerusher.com. Yeah, I you know, at some point as you're talking about this, you're kind of saying, you know, you don't wait in many lines, all these scenarios. I mean, it's like, well, kind of since the internet came along, a lot of these lines we don't wait in anymore, right? Like I buy my movie tickets online now, actually, and concert tickets, you know, buy those online too.
I was in Nashville a month or two ago for a work thing, and we were meeting up for lunch, I think it was, and picked out a place. We were texting each other, and we all kind of met up there, and there was a line for it.
Yeah.
And we kind of all looked at each other, and it was like, well, why go here? There's a place across the street. It looks pretty good. And I get it. Like, it's just the mentality that I have. But I know people who, now that I think about it, are like, well, if there's a line, it's got to be the best thing there is, you know? And
that's right.
And so to some degree, perhaps some mentality there. And, you know, as I think about the gig economy, right? Like if you don't want to drive Uber because you don't want to talk to all the people, right? Or you, like, you know, this is a pretty put on your headphones and kind of do your thing. So I don't think it's much of a thing, at least not this operation. But
I was going to say, not much of a moneymaker, probably. Maybe there's a nugget of an idea here, though. But maybe it sparks something for somebody, some tweak, a different industry, a specific industry, or
who's making more, Spencer? The line waiter, the line sitter, or the scrap metal guy from last week?
Ooh, I got to say the scrap metal guy, man.
Okay.
Oh, something about finding scrap metal.
You've
just
got
gets
such a
my
thing for the
blood,
scrap metal, though, so I don't know if you're
blood
biased.
pumping. Never done it, but I certainly don't want to wait in a line to earn money. Tell you that. That's lower on my list.
That's lowering your list. Yeah, got to fight the crowds, stand in the
That's right.
sun or the rain.
But you do have, here's Ahrefs.
It's a DR0.
DR0.
But look at that traffic chart.
That's a good trend.
We would all like that traffic chart nowadays, wouldn't we?
Just stepping up.
23 keywords. 23
keywords.
They do have a first page ranking, though.
Line sitter. Not a lot of people looking for line sitters.
No.
It's a tough market, right? It's like, I went to this goes back a year, but about a year ago, as I ran the Boston Marathon, and while we were there, you want to hit the different places. There was a cannoli place, Mike's Cannolis, that always has this line around the block. And so we decided to stand in that line. I'm just trying to think of, like, you don't know there's going to be a line until, like, you're at the line.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you suddenly, like, I hope you're within 5 minutes. I need you to come stand in this line.
To your point, I mean, what I would pay for is someone to wait in the, like, digital queue to get me national park campground reservations, or maybe you're trying to get Taylor Swift tickets,
concert tickets.
But you don't show up at a line. Like, the problem is waiting in the digital queue and trying to get the tickets via the digital queue. Now, to be fair, the flip side of this, and I did a little bit of it, I forgot to mention it. It wasn't in my notes, but I'll bring it up now. If you go to TaskRabbit, this is a pretty popular service.
Okay.
Define popular, and also it's an algorithm and all that, but still it's an actual thing in TaskRabbit. And so there's really, it's good sense to try to take a popular side hustle or gig thing that's in TaskRabbit and kind of try to make it your own thing. Like, I see that as being kind of smart, but whether not executed well, or whether it's just not something people are willing to turn away from TaskRabbit to have, this doesn't seem to have taken hold yet, this idea here.
Right. Yeah, and maybe it is sort of niching down, like you said. Maybe it's like you are just the concert ticket, online waiting room guy. Like, this is all I do is I wait and online and buy tickets for people all day. And these may already exist. So you're right. I mean, maybe there's a nugget of an idea here that somebody could really execute on.
As someone who, road trips every summer and other times of the year with my family, and getting these national park reservations is awful. And and unlike like a Taylor Swift concert where it's like, okay, all the tickets go on sale today. And so it's like, how do I handle like 100 orders from people? But like, I could see national park reservations online. Like, get in line. Okay, so let's see. So I have tomorrow morning booked for this family, and then I have Monday morning booked for this family, and then and I just kind of wait in the queue. And then if I can't get it, I work the cancellation game. And I could, honestly, somebody want that. We're thinking out loud here. That's not a bad idea.
We're talking ourselves into this. Line
that might
Rushers
be
really
that's my
something.
2025 side hustle.
It could be. If somebody hasn't built it out, I'll remind you in a year.
Please.
And we'll go for it.
I'm lacking for a side hustle by like March or April of 2025. Let's reference this here where I said I'd do it.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening in. Some kind of fun, weird niche sites, I think, today. Kind
weird
of fun
news topics, weird niche sites.
Yes, exactly. Kind of weird all around. So just thank you, everybody, for listening in. Really appreciate your time, and hope you all have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on the podcast. Just a final reminder that it was brought to you by Search Intelligence. And if you're looking for link building PR campaigns for your website, just head over to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them today. Cheers.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. I just wanted to remind you that if you are ready to start building smarter, faster, and easier internal links, you should check out Link Whisper. You can get $15 off Link Whisper when you use the coupon code PODCAST at checkout. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use the code PODCAST in order to save $15. Thanks again for listening.